even more so here. Watch the difference between all the brightness in the background here, which works. There's detail there. None of it's blown out. Even in the white areas, it's not blown out. We come here and you have wonderful detail of the dragonfly, beautiful background, and the colors just work so well with the colors of the dragonfly. And you see the composition related to the wings going up into the right-hand corner, not shot straight on, shot on an angle, which presents really well. This is quite a good image, my opinion. This is really interesting from the standpoint of the butterfly in with all those curves, yet I kept wanting to cut the top of the image off, or at least darken it, or cut a major portion of it and then darken it. I'd like to have that little blue area dipping down because that pushes the eye back down. But the upper part is too much there given the subject of what's here. But boy, we are very close. Think about this again in relation to those first images, starting stage, where you are now. Now you're really keying in on subjects and detail and designs. So now we really are almost there. Here are the image that I think you're almost there. Very good message. Instantly, a very good message. Very good composition. You're not needing to crop a lot of areas or the aspects of what's in the background in relation to what's in the foreground. Sharpness in the image. Instant impact. As soon as the image hits the screen, an instant message. Instant. It's there. No doubt whatsoever about the overall beauty of the flower, the presentation, the composition, the flow from left up to the upper right. Everything works really well. The colors, beautifully done. Same here, instant message, instant impact, as soon as it hits the screen. The darker greens behind, the beautiful depth of field, the sharpness throughout. Everything is working. The design of it, just really well done.
John, can you flip this one?
I would flip it, and I probably should have. Oh, actually, I did play with it and flipped it. Didn't work as well because that's why I'm not showing it. Here, you're coming in from the left and looking into the face of the flowers. When I flipped it the other way, it had the flowers pushing you out. So that's why I didn't do it.
Oh,
and
right.
Curved stem is a block blocks you from leaving the picture.
Yes, that's right. The stem keeps you coming back into the left side, which and very similar to good point. Very similar to doing portraits. When you do a headshot in portraiture, you're taught to have a little less behind the head and a little more in front of the head. And here's the same technique. You see to the right of the stem, not as much area as to the left that allows all that open space for you to come in and look around and come back down through the flowers. But look how well that's done. Instant presentation, watch. There it is. Instant presentation, good message. Light coming from behind, special light. Interesting presentation. But actually an artistic one. This is a merge of two images, but still the whole impact is instant. The colors there, the brighter areas are where the eye goes first and where the eye should stay. Then you can roam around, but it all ties together very well. Good vertical presentation. This one, not there. I should put this in the one close but no cigar, because boy, the detail in that one main flower in the foreground, but all these in the background just are not working. Should not have it in this area here. Sorry about that. This one, if we cropped on the right and flip this one, this would be more interesting. But here's one that is very interesting and what a presentation. But again, I point out the highlights, the light coming from an angle, not just straight on light, and light on those elements that stand out from the background. I think for me, there's a little bit too much on the top. But you have to be very careful because if you crop too much, then the bottom part is too overbearing. But a little bit on the top, I think would be good to crop a little. Now we're getting closer and closer to really impactful images. Good depth of field. The color is really well done. The center of the flower is darker than the highlights around it, so it stands out even more. Could be the reverse, but it doesn't need to be. Could have the lighter area around and a darker area around and lighter area in the center, but that works well. And I think the bud on the right works fine with the flower coming down and the petal just coming right out to the bud. So now let's see the background. Very simple, color in there, darkness, but not pure black. Can be, but in this case, I think it works really well. Background, foreground, similar colors, main element, certainly there, fills the screen, slightly on an angle, beautiful vertical presentation. Flipped it, and it doesn't work that way for me. This works well because of my eyes coming in and into the openness of the upper part of the flower. Here, I see that, and then the lines, the darker lines, curve down and take me off to the right-hand side. So this way, I see it working a lot better. And the presentation instantly, it's there. Boy, here it really is there. Presentation's there. And the creative use of depth of field, so that the foreground portion is not sharp, but not so out of focus that you can't see and understand what's there. Then it gets extremely sharp, and the presentation overall. And here we're playing with the idea of it. The flower doesn't need to be in its natural element. I'm simply presenting a flower as an artistic presentation. Just another way to think about it. The lines working really well, the background well. I think that there's a little bit too much brightness in the background. See, now I'm getting picky on these really beautifully done flowers, and that, wow, but only to learn. As I said in the beginning, not that this is the only way to do something. This is my way of showing elements and talking about the aspects of them, so that as you're photographing, you'll start thinking about them. And that is how you learn, and that is how you progress. Instant impact, more of a design than just a flower. Instant impact. Very interestingly presented, even with the little bit of yellow in the lower left corner. For me, it worked. I thought about taking it out. I thought, oh, I think it works. And how the background has been handled and the whole presentation, there must be, or maybe be, a filter on this of some sort that creates this look to it. It's almost a painterly look. And that's what I think has been done to it. But what a presentation. Let me come back to the one before it. And then that one comes to the screen. Wow, just jumps right off the screen. Little subtle, could be cropped a bit more on the left. Very subtle, soft presentation. Now, light coming in differently, and the flow of the whole diagonal aspect through the image on a black background, not just trying to show the flower in its natural habitat, but to show an artistic presentation. Wow, come right in. And this one I couldn't help but, of course, this flows me out the right side, and this flows me right into the center. And look at the detail. One thing that would, I think, two things that could be changed. Up in the upper, sort of the left side there, that bright part of the flower coming down, that should be gone. And in the lower right corner, the blurred area there. But see, now we're getting, and great that we can get extremely picky about subtleties like that, because the image is so good anyway, and its presentation, but those could make it even better.
John, if I may, I agree flipping it. Even as you start to leave the picture, 4 or 5 of the end petals are curved and to me puts me back into the center of the picture.
Absolutely. Good point. Yes. Good point. And overall, think about, and I should concentrate more on that in explaining some of these, the curves as well as the straight lines are so important, especially in flowers. That's what caught my eye of just looking at flowers initially, is how beautiful the petals and things all curved. But yes, that's, I thought, very important aspect of this image, to bring you back into the image. Oh, you guys are really getting there. Good presentation. Wouldn't the overall aspect of the composition, the color, the blue, complementary to the color of the central portion, sharpness throughout. Look at impact again. We go from here, which has impact, here, instant impact, tells a story. Impact, story, and even working with a blurred foreground to push you into that. And then those curves, all those curves, bringing you right back into the center. Subtle, very subtle presentation. And when I first saw this, I thought, oh, wow. Love the light coming in from the upper left, highlighting those 2 flowers at the top. If there were some improvements that I would recommend, it would be to bring out some more detail in that 3rd flower on the right, and the one just below it a little bit, because there are some stems there and they could be brought out. And I think that would make this even more. But look at the overall impact. Stand back a little bit. And I want you to think about the background here being black, that not just that it's black, that you're not necessarily required to show the flower in among all other flowers or leaves or trees or anything. It's the presentation of the image of what you want the viewer to see, and the artistic, for me, the artistic aspect of it. Really fills the screen, but there are some subtleties here that just won't quite make it. The right under the bottom part there, that the color and highlights, not quite. And it's a little bit too much for me right in my face. So I'm not getting the whole essence of what's there. I actually flipped this one, and I think it works a little better than this one, because this one's pointing me out the right-hand side.
Right.
This one, and now I'm not as distracted by some of those other elements that I talked about. See the difference there to here?
Looks like Hershey
Now,
Kisses.
so
Looks like Hershey Kisses in the middle.
yes, okay. Now we'll go to what I think are wow, wow. Certainly instant impact as soon as that image hits the screen. An instant message of what the photographer wants you to see. Composition, superb. Texture, sharpness, and the essence of all kinds of photography is light. That's what we capture, light. So let's look at the special light related to flower photography. Special light all around the other side, the outer side of this, the sharpness, the texture, the beauty of it. Instant, go back here, instant impact, instant message, excellent composition. Oh, there it is. Put this in perspective to some of those flowers that I showed at the beginning level, or even at the close but no cigar. This really is a special image of a flower. Sharpness, special image, special presentation, very artistic presentation. That leaf on the top brings you back down. And I played with one of the filters. I think this is a watercolor filter on that. And it's just another way to make a presentation. And I did that for the aspect of saying, think about what you're doing with your photography. Is it to show the realism of the flower? Wonderful. And this is a great presentation, but also think about presenting things in an artistic manner. I used a texture filter on this one. And I think the presentation's very, very interesting. The message is there. There's a little bit lightness in the bottom that takes my eye down there a little much, but that could have been easily taken care of by darkening it. But look at the overall color. Stand back a little bit from the screen and see how this is presented. Now you have really instant impact, design, composition. Wow. Wow, that is a beautiful, from my opinion, flower image. Same here. Brings you right into the colors, the lines, the overall light, the light of this, the light against the shadows, just beautifully, beautifully done. The light, look at this, lit from inside the flower. Beautiful detail everywhere, great depth of field, good lines, curved lines, colors, background color in relation to the foreground flower. Very creative, artistic, abstract in a way. The highlights, special light right in the center. See how the around the outside of the flower is darker all the way to bring you right into the center. Light, special light coming from behind. The curves, the designs, the lines, everything working. Special light, design, fading out the corners as a light vignette rather than a dark vignette, which brings your eye back into the center even more.
Is there John, is there a message here? All the wow, wow, wow so far have been cropped inside the flower, no edges.
No. No. Geez, I went to a number of sites to get these, and so I was just picking the ones I liked. But no, I'm not trying to say that's the only way.
But it emphasizes the beautiful color within the flower without getting distracted on the edges at the same time.
It certainly does. Yeah, certainly does. You can't help but just go right into this and see the essence of that flower. A little bit of a difference. The animal there. And at one point I thought, I'll select him and flip him up and have him going up. And I thought, oh, but here's the difference. There's an emotional aspect of him going that way, which makes me feel uncomfortable and makes me watch and look at the image even more. If he was facing upward, I'd feel comfortable and accept it, but not the same as with him going downwards. Light, color, detail.
That's fabulous.
Composition, it's there. Light, color, backgrounds, composition. Same here. See how it flows. You're really inside the flower, not just presenting the flower, but inside. And when I first started shooting, and I didn't understand about getting closer and all those kinds of things, the inside of the flowers were so beautiful. That's what I wanted to try to get to. And then I fought all the issues of depth of field and all those, boy, here it is. Very creative, flow. It's upside down. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's a beautiful way of presenting this. Here's the other way around. Instant impact, detail, sharpness, all throughout. Oh, boy, beautiful. Now we have a bee. We have the light coming from behind. They have detail everywhere, sharpness everywhere. everything is working in relation to the image. There's a little bit of a blowout in the center of the flower, and I think that could just be how not just me, but getting things off the web aren't necessarily the way that they are presented entirely. But it gives the whole impact, the composition, the structure, the sharpness. Very creative, very painterly.
John,
Yes,
this is so perfect that we're having Mike Moats talk about macro photography.
yes, exactly. Yes, I thought about that.
John, there was a question in the chat room for you. I didn't know, you probably didn't think you could see it, but it was asking if you thought they were using small LED lights inside the flowers.
Small
LED lights to light the inside of the flower.
Certainly, possibly. Why not? Good question. And there is no reason that you can't light the flowers. Take them into a studio, take them into your home, put a simple background on them. In fact, I'll show you something in a few minutes. It's doing that. You don't necessarily be needing to photograph the flower outside where it's growing. You're creating an artistic presentation of the flower. So yes, use light however you want.
This looks like a Becky photo, that one further before.
Looks like a who?
Becky.
Becky, oh yes. Look at the presentation here. The sharpness, beautiful colors, the simple background, yet it works in relation to the foreground. The overall presentation of the image. Think about this in relation to those earlier stages, and not that we shouldn't be there, it's how we grow from those early stages up through getting more and more and more close but no cigar, getting there, and then better, and now, wow. Reflection, background, detail, presentation, message. Here you go, light.
Wow.
Probably an LED light. Yes, probably, but very creative. Very creative how that stands out. And the three leaves, just well done. Overall, highlights, detail, color, instant presentation, instant message, vignette, light, not dark, but dark around the flower to allow it to stand out three-dimensionally. Three-dimensional. Great presentation. Presentation. Artistic, different, great presentation. Now we get a little bit where we have some insects. Beautifully done. How about this one? This was good. In my opinion, this is better. Beautifully done overall. And the flow of the flower and the one below it, and then coming up to the color, and then the butterfly, everything's working there. A long vertical presentation. In fact, this is Sally Hale.
Yay, Sally.
And this is Sally Hale's presentation. And this is one of my favorites. I think it's so well done. Look at the softness, look at the background. I featured Sally's images with birds. Well, she's just as good with flowers and the insects. They just beautiful presentation overall. You can't help but see the message, see the instant aspect of what's coming across as a piece of art instantly as soon as it hits the screen. And Sally Hale.
Oh, God.
This is a painterly, very painterly presentation of it. So well done. How about a high key, in a sense, a high key presentation, or even to show your work inside a mat. One session, one class, I showed a way to use frames around your image. Well, how about a mat? And this is how you would present it. Look how that stands out from that white background.
It's like an Audubon presentation.
Yes, it does. Good depth of field. Beautiful.
Can you go back one to Sally's?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Now we go to what I'm calling very special images. finish and wrap up the flower presentation. This is a friend of mine also. Linda Lester is her name. And I've tried to get her to become a member of the guild. And it's not that she is opposed of it. She just does a lot of travel and a lot of work. But I thought this was so creative. Now, guess what I did to it? Flipped it around to see. And I like it flipped better. I think it shows the flower better. I'll bet you're not even seeing the lower right corner of this image as much as because you're looking at the frog. Now you're seeing that portion of the flower and you're looking at the frog. So I think it's a much better presentation, but beautifully done special image. Another one of Linda's images with the frog wrapped around the flower. How cool is that? Just beautiful work. Flowers done well. The background, everything. Look at the three-dimensionality of this image. So light, message, three-dimensionality, composition, major elements of the work at this level. Reflection. This is mine. Costa Rica. Just thought I'd play for a while and do some things, used a filter on it. Straight shot, Costa Rica, frog looking right at you. Hanging on, flower. Thank you for attending today. Thank you.